Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. So today we're here with an Impending Doom build, and I just want to show you guys the league mechanic and the build tanking it and basically not taking any damage. Now I am using Blood Notch, but I'm not using Petrified Blood or Progenesis because the build actually has really good recovery regardless of Blood Notch. I'm only using Blood Notch because I dropped it, which was really surprising. And then yeah, so I don't know how I just dropped a max for blood notch on the floor, but yeah, maybe do delve, guys. I got it from delve. You know, maybe delve's got the hidden drops that are pretty good. But anyway, I also did a 400 delve depth all, which was actually pretty easy. Surprisingly, I thought it'd be a lot more difficult, and he did have avoid poison as well, so he was really tanky for my build particularly. But yeah, it's just this build is a really good all-rounder, guys, and you should really consider playing this one. So this is actually Steelmage's build, and I've made a few adaptations, but nothing too crazy. And he actually has like a build guide kind of thing already, which I'm gonna link below. So don't expect a guide from this because there's already one out there of like how to make the items and you know, the Q&A of the build and stuff like that. And I'm actually going to touch over a little bit of the Q&A of the build. But yeah, as you can see, we're just steamrolling this map, and it's yeah, I've actually farmed to level 100 with this build. That's how much I've been playing it and how fun it's been. So yeah, we'll get into the build and like the common mistakes you can get into with this build as well if you're trying to play it. Alright, so this is Steelmage's video, and he's got sections on pretty much everything you'd want to know about the build. And here we've got a Impending Doom not triggering, you know, like solutions. And I find this to be really helpful because a lot of people will get these problems, and me and a friend had the problem as well. And the problem we had was gems aren't level 20, and it makes such a big difference, especially for some reason on the Ranger class. I don't know why it's like this, but as a Ranger, for some reason, when your gems aren't level 20, it all doesn't work properly, and I don't know why. And if you test the exact same setup on an occultist or on a witch, there seems to be no issues. So I don't know what's going on there, but something really weird is going on there. And from what I can tell, it's just the gem levels, and yeah, it's probably bugged, but it's fine. Just make sure your gems are level 20 or like level 18 onwards, I think, is like optimal. Because before that, if you like playing Impending Doom early, you might run into issues where you're like, it's just not working. So yeah, if you do play it, just make sure gems are high level. Otherwise, it's gonna feel kind of weird, or there's gonna be something going on that doesn't feel right. But yeah, just go through this and make sure you know, none of these are going wrong before you worry about the build not working. And you probably find that if it's not working and you've done all these steps, then just double check, because this pretty much covers everything right now. Okay, so I'm going to go over the build a little bit. I've actually invested about 100 divines. Now I know this sounds like a lot, but the only thing is that I actually spent way too much on things that you don't need to spend this much on, and the build functions completely fine without this much invested anyway. So yeah, and on top of that, there's so much room to improve on this build. I haven't even like min-maxed it that much at all. So yeah, it works for both people. For people that don't want to invest much, it will work for you, and for people who want to invest way more, there's still a lot of room from my build to go on anyway. So yeah, first of all, we got the staff. Now the staff doesn't look that impressive, but the real impressive part of the staff is the crucible tree. Um, and yeah, the crucible tree was really expensive for me to craft. I think I spent around 15 divines on or actually a bit more, because I tried to slam +1 in gems here, but I actually bought out the market and it got to like way too expensive where it wasn't worth buying the bases anymore. So yeah, no one's actually used like crucible treeing maelstrom stuffs enough to give enough supply for +1 in gems, which is actually really annoying. But yeah, we got increased damage over time, which is okay. It's pretty good. It's probably second best after +1 in gems. We got the quality over here, which we're actually using to our benefit to get some AoE. As you can see, we got 46% quality because I believe I Hillock benched this, and then it's giving the 16% on top. and then we're using that for the AoE. The AoE is just nice. If it gives you more screen coverage, more clear, and all of that. And then we've got this. This is a really important node, and you're gonna need this on your one. If you can't get any of the nodes but one, it would be this one, and that would be the increased cooldown recovery rate, because this allows us to to scale our damage with cast speed more. So what happens is normally your damage will actually go lower if you don't have enough cooldown recovery rate, if you have too much cast speed. So the way you actually scale the damage of this build is to scale cast speed and scale cooldown recovery rate, because if you scale both of those, cooldown recovery rate inherently doesn't give any damage, but with the cast speed it does. And when you do that, you will basically have more damage. That's the easiest way to explain it in a short way. So yeah. And then we've got damage over time multiplier minus chaos res. So as you can see, this tree is pretty damn good. And yeah, it's really expensive. I personally don't like the mechanic that much. I don't like how much gambling there is involved. And there's a lot of luck involved. And I know, you can... What I was doing was imprinting and going back, but it was just so painful. And the 6 white sockets, I just happened to hit those when I reached it. I only wanted 1 or 2 realistically, but I ended up getting 6. So, we take that, I guess. And yeah, that is the staff, really. But yeah, I had a long journey with it. I actually had a different staff crafted earlier, and then I took it down and imprinted it and started trying to slam the +1 in gems afterwards. So I had to recraft the staff after that. And yeah, obviously the steel video has all the guides of how to make these items, so I'm not necessarily going to go into them. But yeah, just keep in mind, crafting this stuff actually isn't hard. The hard part is the crucible tree. So yeah, if you can't get the crucible tree, it's not that big of a deal, but just make sure you get this node here. The cooldown recovery rate is really important. Next, we have the helmet. Now, this helmet is very easy to make. You want to obviously get the enchant if you can. If you can't get the despair enchant, maybe it's more expensive or unavailable, go for the temporal chains one. And yeah, temporal chains is also a good curse to get as your effect that you get on the helmet. So this helmet's pretty easy. Now, I got really unlucky. I hit T5 Chaos Threads like 5 times in a row, which is like, what, 10 divines of suffixes cannot be changed. And then I settled for, what, T4 Chaos Threads, and I was like, okay, it's just not worth it at this point. So yeah, and I was doing that because I wanted to cap my Chaos Res, but you obviously don't need to cap your Chaos Res, but in my case I really wanted to. So yeah, you can do that if you want. And then okay, this amulet is really cool. I was using this on my last Impending Doom build. This is like something that Rue was using on his Impending Doom build last week. And yeah, it's really good. Now, the implicits, obviously, it doesn't come with these implicits. There's like different implicits you get. But the really important part is if you use this amulet, you don't have to, by the way. But if you use this amulet, make sure that the Searing Exarch is is like higher tier than the Eater of Worlds one. The reason you want that is because it gives you the 15% cull, and the other bonus is really bad. And if both of these mods are the same tier, you will get neither of the bonuses. So make sure that the Exarch is dominant, or by dominant means higher tier than the Eater one. Otherwise, this amulet isn't going to be doing very much for you. Okay, these implicits are pretty perfect. Now, obviously, the rolls can be a bit better, but this is basically the ideal implicits here. It's pretty much perfect, and you want to use caster catalyst if you can, because it gives you a little bit more curse effect. As you can see, I inherently have 9, but it goes to 10. So yeah, really recommend this amulet, but it's very expensive to get perfect implicit, so you can just go for something less. Go for one of them. If you were to choose between duration of elements and increased effect of curses, definitely take increased effect of curses, because it gives you a lot more damage overall. And it doesn't just give you damage, it also gives you survivability. Remember, you're also getting curse effect on temp chains, which is giving you the action speed slow, and it's also giving you enfeeble curse effect, which is giving you the the less damage taken and reduced accuracy of enemies. So it's pretty damn good to get curse effect. It's like an overall global buff instead of just damage. Then we got rings. Highly recommend you get fractured cast speed rings, and crafting these isn't too bad. I'm not going to really go into them, but yeah, they're really expensive. if you want to get good chaos res. As this one I got quite lucky. I got like T2 or T1 chaos res here. And this one this one was a failure. I hit like T5 or T6 chaos res multiple times, and it was really not fun. But yeah, I used caster catalyst again to get the cast speed on this, and yeah, it's not too bad to make the rings, but they're expensive. Vixens got increased cast speed on the implicit. Something I'll be careful of is if you get +2 curse gems on here, just be careful that your despair gem isn't having like a differing radius, because if you add +2 to these gems here, they actually get to 11 radius instead of 10. So if that happens, just be careful because it might mess up things again. Just something to keep in mind. If things go wrong, that's something that could be potentially a problem. So yeah, there's that. Next we have a lightning coil, +2 aura gems. You could go for any corrupt you want. Increased damage is really good. I went for +2 aura because I'm running my auras in here. But yeah, you could go for anything really, because we don't need it 6 sync. You can just get a really nice corrupt for cheap. So yeah. And then we got the boots. We got cooldown, recovery rate, and action speed on here. And these boots are super easy to make. You just want to buy some boots with perfect suffixes, and then you suffixes cannot be changed. Veil chaos. After you unveil, you want to take move speed, and don't go for onslaught if you like. Okay, so onslaught is dangerous because on my build, if I take onslaught, it'll actually break my damage with the, or it'll lower my damage with the too much cast speed on kill, right? So it's something to keep in mind. Not that it matters that much, but just something to keep in mind that actually could be a problem. And then I just craft life on here and it's done basically. And I think it still has an open affix, so you can still exalt slam it if you want, but yeah. And then for the belt, it's pretty simple. This is actually really easy to make. You just need a fracture on the increased flash charge gain, and I recommend the heavy belt because we really struggle with strength. And what you want to do is actually spam Essence of Woe for the ES, and it is really cheap essence. You don't actually need the ES, but it's like a free chaos, and then you just keep, or not free chaos, but it's like a chaos equivalent for a mod that's very mildly useful. And then you just keep spamming until you get flask duration and a good life roll and an empty suffix. So you can craft cooldown, recovery rate, really, really important. But yeah, that's all you really want in the battle. As you can see, it's nothing crazy. Okay, the flasks are really important. You really need gain 3 charges when you're hit by an enemy, because this is how we're getting that much recovery aside from Blood Notch. So we're using this mastery that gives you 4% of life when you use a flask. Now, when enemies are constantly hitting us, we're going to be gaining charges. And this is how we're basically constantly using a flask, because we're just getting hit over and over, and our flask charges are going up and up and up every time, and then we use one full. So we're basically just spamming flasks without even touching them. And yeah, we're doing that for all the flasks. Really important. So if you're not running Blood Notch, I'd recommend replacing the reduced effect of curses with Avoid Stun. I think I still have one of my one. But yeah, this will give you stun immunity. And because we have a lot of flask effect, you can see here, we can go to our defense. And if we see our stun chance, stun avoidance is 99%. It is basically there. If you take the Heart of Oak, which I unspec'd because of Blood Notch, we're 100%. So yeah, go for that if you're not running Blood Notch, and you can definitely go without Blood Notch on this build. I just put it in there just for fun because I dropped it. So yeah. Also, if you're running Blood Notch, do obviously make sure you're running Immutable Force as well, because it's really important. Okay, Taste of Fate, of course, gives you you really need this because we're using Lightning Call, Taste of Fate, and our Helmet to give us full Fizz immunity. So, or Fizz to Element, Fizz to, I've got a bit of Fizz to Chaos here. But we're basically converting 100% of our Fizz damage taken to a Element, which gives us a lot of Fizz mitigation. Because we're not using Determination or anything. So yeah, obviously you got Quartz Flask, Quicksilver, and the usual Topaz, just to cap our resists, because as you can see, our resists are struggling without these flasks. If I take them off, you'll see here that our resist is pretty much like we're using a mage blood. It's that insane how much resist we're getting. So yeah, really recommend you run these flasks. Okay, so a quick question where you might be thinking, why are you not running Progenesis instead of the quartz flask? Now, for me personally, I was delving a lot, and I really needed the phasing without killing things too, because I was basically going into the side areas without. And when you go into the side areas, sometimes you can't kill some of the mobs, and getting blocked is the most tilting thing in Delve. So I didn't personally go for Progenesis here. But yeah, Progenesis is really good. The only problem you're going to have to solve is your spell suppress, because Quartz Flask is actually giving us a lot. As you can see, we dropped to 84, and that is with Revenge of the Hunted, right? So keep in mind we're like actually at 64, or what is it called? 74. I don't know what. But yeah, we're a lot lower than this number because of Revenge of the Hunted. So yeah, just keep that in mind. You're going to have to fix your spell suppress. You can get it on your helmet, or you could maybe spec into this node here and get it there. It's up to you guys how you want to do it, but Progenesis with Blood Notch will, even without Blood Notch, will make the build very tanky to incoming one-shots. So I'd highly recommend using Progenesis if you can, but keep in mind, obviously, you're going to lose some spell suppress, you're going to lose the perma phasing. You're probably going to have to get phasing either on a Watcher's Eye or through, because we're running, I think it's haste that gives the phasing, or it's grace, I can't remember, or you're gonna have to get an abyss jewel that gives phasing on kill. As I said, I personally didn't want phasing on kill because it's a bit of an issue for me, so yeah, there's that. Okay, so we'll quickly touch onto the links. We got Impending Doom, Despair. You do want to use the alt quality Despair because it gives you more damage than the default quality. Awaken Spell Cascade. Now you only need to run one of these, and you run it in your 6 sync. But obviously, if you don't have it, yeah, and it's too expensive, that's fine. You don't need it. But basically, it gives you an extra overlap, so it gives you a lot more damage, and I highly recommend that you use this if you're struggling with damage. But this is like something you do once your build's already set up. It's not something you just put in there when you're starting off. So yeah. We got Awakened Deadly Elements, we got Awakened Unbound Elements, and then we've got Divergent Void Manipulation. Now, the reason we use this is because it gives you Chaos Damage Leech to Scythe. It's very powerful because we have no way of leeching otherwise. So yeah, it's a nice little added recovery for our build. But if you're on a budget, you definitely don't need it because we have decent recovery otherwise. Okay, then we got Increased Duration, Malevolence, Inspiration, Divine Blessing. Now you don't actually need the all qualities on this because we have enough ES to cast this with no problem. So feel free to drop the alt qualities if you need to, or to reduce the mana cost. I'm only running it because I had those gems lying around anyway from my last build. We've got Punishment, Spell Cascade, Temp Chains, Enfeeble. If you didn't know already, the order of these gems is really important. You want Punishment in the top left. And then we've got the Flame Dash, Withering Step. We're using Anomalous to give us the Withered stacks. And putting this on an Enhance would be really beneficial. And then we've got Cast when damage taken, Steel Skin. And then we've got Purity of Elements running Anomalous to give us a bit more resistances. And I highly recommend you do that as well to make things a bit easier. We've got Vitality. Divergent Herald of Agony is really important because you need the poison hit chance. If you're missing the hit chance, what you can do if you can't get Divergent Herald of Agony is use the Mastery that gives you 20% chance to ignite, freeze, shock, and poison. That will make up for the 20% from Herald of Agony. And then you've got Val Haste and Haste. I'm using Haste on left click even though it lowers my damage a little bit because I go over the cast speed threshold. It's just for the extra move speed for it to feel smooth while I'm mapping. It's fine. At the boss, my Val Haste is barely going to be up, so it doesn't matter. So yeah, that is basically the gear. I'm going to quickly go over the tree a little bit, not too much. I've got a really nice Watcher's Eye here. It gives you 30 life on hit by Vitality and 12% Fist taken as element. Now you really need this mod. The life on hit by Vitality is just like a Cure Well mod, but you need the Fizz damage taken as hits because that's how you wrap out the last amount that you need to convert full Fizz. Because we can't use like a Dawnbreaker, that's why we have to use this as an extra thing on top. But yeah, there's that. And then we've just got the basic tree. We skip Heart of Oak because we don't want a Void Stun because of Blood Notch. And yeah, we got this cluster. This cluster is not too expensive. I got strength on mine, but you don't really need it. As you can see, your strength is fine. I did have to go for this though, which is really annoying. But yeah, we've got obviously the blood notch, immutable force. We have just a standard life, res, and chaos damage jewel, and make sure to use your jewel slots to actually cap your res as well, because it's very useful to do that. As you can see, I got another jewel here. Now, for me personally, I really recommend going for a corrupted blood jewel and ditching bleed immunity, because you don't really care about bleeds other than corrupting blood. Because your recovery is so insane, you don't really care about any other source of degen. It's just the corrupting blood which is a problem. You could also go for the immunity to bleeding while affected by malevolence, but I tried that, watch as and it felt horrible because sometimes I forgot to press malevolence and I just died to corrupting blood, and it was horrible. So yeah, I don't know. It's just really uncomfortable not having corrupting blood immunity, so like at all times. So I really recommend that. But yeah, the rest of it is standard. I'm not gonna go into the entire tree. I just wanted to highlight the jewels because that's like the only thing that really changes between builds. And then yeah, just standard SNSE stuff. But yeah, I didn't want to make this video too long. That's why I am rushing a little bit, and there's already a guide, so I didn't really want to. I didn't feel the need to really explain things too crazily. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. And if you have any questions, you can ask me if you want. But there's most likely it's already been answered probably by Steelmage's video, so make sure you go and watch that as well.